we are already in a position as to where um, the domino effect of it, even some people that are not affected by the virus mentally, some people will never be the same. And I always take it to the story about when I was a kid, how we would be outside playing, but there was this person that would be looking at us play out the window. We never seen that person outside. So, we always thought they were crazy, or we would tease them at the window, or him or her, whoever it was. It was somebody who would always be watching out the window. Now, your kids will experience that same thing, but only that person who's sitting there in the house watching them play is going to have a mask on, looking out at them, because mentally, there are some people who will never come back. This coronavirus trip, it's like they went on this coronavirus trip and nothing will come back but their luggage. And it will still be shot. It's some people overdoing it. You might say, oh, they are paranoid, but it's some people that are not going to make it back mentally. They will not make it back. And it's going to have that effect going down the line. So you think about, say, when I was little, those people who was looking at us from outside, what did they see? Was it bubonic plague? Was it Spanish flu? Was it polio? What did they go through that they didn't want to come outside and mingle with people? You never seen them outside. What did they go through? What did they see? And so those are the things that we need to kind of go back to and think about those people mentally who just refused to even come outside.
That's interesting, Brother West. I think a lot of the times, or at least currently, we're focusing a lot on what we can see, the impacts of this virus economically. We can see that, right? The job loss, the people not being able to pay their rent, people not being able to buy basic necessities because they don't have money, the unemployment rates. We can see all these things. We can't see what people are going through in their brains, in their minds, mentally, and that the lasting impact that this virus is going to have on people. And I don't think we're talking about that enough.
Nope.
At all, really.
No. I had a brief conversation with someone that I worked with a long time ago from the Institute for Minority Development. And this is like the first Black family here in the state on mental health. Dr. Ella Gross, along with her daughter, Ordana, I worked with them a long time ago. We worked with people who were mentally challenged and everything, not so much physically, but mentally challenged. And I'm scheduling them for a future show so that we can talk about the mental aspect of this whole thing. Scenario. Here's the scenario. Let's say a lady who we know of sound mind has been locked in the house. She's in her house with a head covering, mask, gloves. Don't let anybody in the house. You can't deliver nothing, anything, right? So and let's say we still had this guy in there for president, if the vaccine came and it was mandatory for people to take it, and they sent the military to issue it to people, this is a lady who is not going to let military or nobody else in her house, okay? What's going to happen is they're going to breach her house, and you'll probably never hear from her again, okay? Probably never hear from her again because she's going to fight them to the end, to the last. And it's going to be people like that. There's people now, right now, you can't come to their house. No, they may talk to you on the phone and that's it. Some people will not make it back even after, let's say the vaccine proves to be effective and all of that stuff.
Right, and let's just go on and throw out a number. 80% of our population takes the vaccine annually.
I ain't taking that stuff. That I ain't will just kick in. I ain't coming out. So I ain't going to be around. I ain't going to do this. That's going to kick in because of how it's being fed right now. And now you're seeing people, out of nowhere because of these carriers who are really killing the people right now. It's these people who won't listen to the instruction and the universal precautions that are being given to prevent the spread. It's these people who are not listening, who are continuing to perpetuate the growth of coronavirus and the deaths of coronavirus in people. It's that. And some people, they might be short anyway mentally, but that's enough for them. I don't want to be around nobody. They're hearing young people, they definitely don't want to be around no kids. I don't want nobody. And that's the message that they're going to get, the limited of information, which is why I said for these entities, especially those of you who are serving people of color, you're serving people of color, don't just set up a testing site and tell them to come get tested. Educate them about the testing process. Educate them as to why it's necessary that you become tested. That's the stuff that we need you out here doing, not just taking these people's money and setting up a tent like a gypsy, okay? We need for you to help us become a more informed community because we're losing people. We're losing people mentally every day, every day. Think of the families who a loved one contracted the virus and passed. They're scared. They're too scared to even receive the information of prevention, probably.
And even having to process losing a loved one. I was right outside here, outside the office a few days ago. And I was walking my dog around because I was dog sitting for a family member. And a young boy approached my car. So, you know, I put my mask on because I'm in my car. I usually take my mask off. I see people driving around with their mask on. I take mine off on. I ain't even going to drive around with it on.
It impairs vision, too.
But, yeah. So I took my, grabbed my mask, put it on, rolled down my window, you know, gave him, what's up? He looked like he was about 13, 14 years old. At this time, it's like 1:30 in the afternoon. So I'm like, okay, what's up? He's like, can you give me $10 so I can get some lunch? And I started thinking in my head, okay, he's not in school. You know, he's doing distance learning. He probably don't got no food at the house. And I don't carry cash, though. So I'm like, I don't got any cash. I mean, I really can't do much for you right now. So he ran away or whatever, ran down to the next building. And at this moment, I'm like, man, I know I got a couple bucks somewhere around here. So I'm looking around my car. I'm checking every place. I'm checking my jacket, pull out my wallet. I see $20 tucked away in my wallet. So I'm like, okay, when I see this young brother come back out again, I'm going to flag him down.
That was the 20 you had to take me to lunch with, bro.
I think it was.
Yeah,
and I think you ended up buying me chicken that day, though, so I ain't get to spend it. So, you know, I chased him down or whatever when I saw him. I'm like, hey, you know, I found $20 in my wallet. You know, here you go. You can get yourself some lunch. You know, I'm an inquisitive person, so I just couldn't walk away. I had to ask, you know, what are you doing out here?
Right.
And then I'm like, why aren't you in school? And that was a terrible question because, he's not in school because coronavirus, you know, they're doing distance learning. So I asked a more relevant question. I said, well, why aren't you at home? And he's like, well, I really don't got no home to go to. I'm like, okay, well, why you don't have a home to go to? Well, you're about 13 or 14 years old. He's like, well, I'm 17. I live with my brother, technically. My mom died this year from coronavirus, and she had a pre-existing condition. She had heart problems. So she died this year. I don't know how recent the death was, but he said this year from COVID. And he had to go live with his grandmother who's elderly. And I'm sure she didn't want him running in and out the house. So go stay with your brother, whatever. And the young guy was, like I said, he was 17 years old. His brother's 25. So I kind of know how that relationship probably is. His brother don't really want to be bothered too much. So he's like, hey, man, go play outside. I still got to do my own thing. And I saw this look on this young dude's face. It was just like he was just giving up in life, And I want to do so much more for him. I really want to get a young dude a hug, to be honest with you. But, COVID-19, I got to be careful, in my interactions with people. But I could tell like he just needed some genuine love and care, and to know that somebody out there actually is trying to do something for him in this situation. And this COVID-19 thing, man, is a mess. Wow. And when I saw him and I heard what happened to his mother, I lost my mom too, and I talk about it a lot, because she's still with me to this day. I lost her 2 years ago. And I know what that loss is like, especially at a young age. And I just know that young brother's going through a lot. Schools are probably lasting on this young brother's mind. He probably not thinking about no school. Even if he was in person and had all the resources, he probably still wouldn't be thinking about school if he's just lost his mom.
Yeah. So
what support is out there for our young brothers and sisters who are losing family members, caretakers, grandmothers, grandparents, moms, dads?
They have them. They call them vice lords, GDs. They have those caretakers. They're out there. They're out there to take care of them, show them love, and this, that, and the other. They're out there.
Put a little dope in their pockets.
They're out there. Sneakers, they're out there. And again, he becomes vulnerable for that, as well as contracting the virus himself, not knowing it, and it'll work and work and work itself until it compromises his immune system, and then here he'll be 18 and pass from coronavirus. Okay? That's what happens.
Or pass from the streets.
Yeah.
Even if it's not 2 or 3 years,
but all
but
of it
once
together.
you're in that cycle.
If he starts making that money, he ain't going to no doctor. He ain't on no plan. How is he going to, who's there to give him information? And this is where I'm talking about these community entities that take that money from the government. This is where you lack at. And you were in a position wondering, what is it that I could do, blah, 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 when there are people who are getting paid to do exactly what you were questioning. They're getting paid for that, but they won't improvise. They won't take that money and go a step further and everything like that. You have provided me with some opportunities and stuff like that. Take it a step. No, let's do all we can do. Not just do this. Mm-hmm. Let's do everything that we can